The courtroom did not announce itself with grandeur. There were no polished marble pillars rising toward a vaulted ceiling, no stained glass filtering sunlight into dramatic patterns across the floor. There was no sense of spectacle. The walls were neutral. The benches were worn by years of ordinary people, sitting in quiet anxiety. Everything about the room suggested function, rather than performance. And yet, when the judge entered, something shifted. Not because he demanded attention, but because he expected it. He did not rush. He did not pause to survey the room. He walked with the quiet certainty of someone who understood exactly where authority came from and had no need to prove it. His robe moved slightly as he took his seat. He adjusted his glasses with practiced familiarity. He opened the file before him and scanned the first page. The room responded instantly. Conversation stopped. Movement stilled. Even breathing seemed to slow. Some rooms command quiet. This was one of them. At the front table sat a woman who did not look up. She was positioned perfectly in her chair, one leg crossed, carefully over the other, her posture composed, deliberate, rehearsed. Her hands rested lightly on the table, fingers relaxed, as though she were waiting for a presentation to begin. Her hair was styled without a strand out of place. Her suit was tailored precisely to her frame, elegant in a way that communicated expense without explanation. It was the kind of appearance designed to make statements without words. She did not look nervous. She looked inconvenienced. To her, this was not a place of consequence. It was an interruption, a delay, something to be handled and dismissed before returning to a schedule filled with people who deferred to her without question. Beside her sat her attorney, a man who had spent years in rooms like this one. His posture was different, less relaxed. His eyes moved often, tracking the judge, the clerk, the subtle rhythms of the courtroom. He recognized the signs that others overlooked. He understood that silence in a courtroom was rarely empty. She did not. The judge cleared his throat once, softly. "Good morning," he said, his voice even, controlled. "We are here to review compliance with court-ordered financial disclosures and determine whether assets have been intentionally concealed." The words were carefully chosen. Each one carried weight. There was no accusation in his tone, but there was no softness either. She continued staring at her phone. Her attorney leaned slightly toward her and nudged her arm gently. Reluctantly, she lifted her head and placed the phone on the table, screen facing down. Her expression did not change. There was no apology in her eyes, no acknowledgement of delay. The judge did not react. "Madam," he continued, "have you reviewed the financial affidavits submitted under your name?" She smiled faintly. It was the kind of smile perfected in boardrooms and charity galas. Polite, detached. The smile of someone accustomed to questions that did not require real answers. "My accountants handle that," she said. A pause followed. Not an awkward one, a deliberate one. The judge nodded once. "And did you personally approve the transfers listed on page 12 of those disclosures?" She exhaled, a quiet sound that carried irritation rather than effort. "I sign what I am told to sign." The judge leaned back slightly in his chair. "That," he said calmly, "is not an answer." Her smile faded. The room seemed to tighten. The faint hum of the ventilation system became noticeable, then disappeared again as attention sharpened. No one shifted in their seat. No one whispered. Her attorney leaned closer and murmured something urgent. She did not look at him. "I do not see why this matters," she said instead, her voice edged with impatience. "These numbers are insignificant compared to our actual holdings." The words struck the room harder than she intended. Insignificant. A few people seated behind her exchanged glances. Someone inhaled sharply. Another shifted on the bench. The sound of fabric brushing against wood, unnaturally loud, in the silence. The judge lifted his eyes from the file and looked at her directly for the first time. "Insignificant to whom?" he asked. She laughed once. It was not loud, it was not warm. "This court deals with small people problems," she said. "Compared to our lifestyle, this is cheap." Cheap. The word did not echo. It did not need to. It settled. No one spoke. The judge did not raise his voice. He lowered it. "Madam," he said, "do you understand where you are?" She waved a dismissive hand, as though brushing away an unnecessary detail. Yes, a local court. We will resolve this quickly." The judge removed his glasses and placed them carefully on the desk, and for the first time since the hearing began, he did not look at the file. He looked at her. "You believe this court exists to accommodate your schedule." Silence. "You believe your wealth changes the rules." Still silence. "You believe compliance is optional." Her attorney opened his mouth. The judge raised one finger. "No," he said, "she will answer." She scoffed, leaning back in her chair. "Let us not pretend this affects us," she said. "If there is a fine, we will pay it and move on." The judge nodded slowly, not in agreement, but as though acknowledging the framework through which she viewed the world. Then he reached for a different folder. It was thicker than the rest. He opened it deliberately. "Earlier this morning," he said, "this court received supplemental evidence." Her posture changed instantly. Her shoulders stiffened. Her hands pressed flat against the table. "Bank records," the judge continued. "Property deeds, trust allocations, offshore disclosures." He turned a page. Assets moved 3 days after this court issued a preservation order. Her attorney's face drained of color. The judge did not look at him. "Multiple luxury properties retitled," he said evenly. "Investment vehicles restructured. 92% of total household assets placed beyond immediate reach." He closed the folder. "That is not coincidence." The courtroom held its breath. The judge leaned forward slightly, resting his forearms on the bench. "This court does not measure value by price tags," he said. "It measures value by honesty." He looked directly at her. "You did not misunderstand the order. You did not forget. You chose to defy it." He turned to the clerk. "Effective immediately, this court orders a freeze on 92% of all identified assets associated with the respondent." The reaction was immediate. Gasps rippled through the room. A hand flew to someone's mouth. Another person leaned forward, disbelief written across their face. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. "All accounts, domestic and international, are frozen pending full forensic review," the judge continued. He paused. "Additionally, this court appoints an independent financial monitor." She stood, abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You cannot do this," she said sharply. "Do you know who my husband is?" The judge did not blink. "I know exactly who you are," he replied. "Someone who just learned that this court is not cheap." The gavel struck once. Not hard. Final. She left the courtroom without speaking. There was no confident stride now, no deliberate rhythm of heels against polished floors. Her steps were uneven, rushed. Her attorney followed several steps behind, already speaking urgently into his phone, his voice low, controlled, and tight with damage control. Outside the courthouse, there were no cameras waiting, no reporters, no applause, just consequences. In the weeks that followed, disclosures arrived in steady waves. Accounts, once hidden, were revealed. Transfers were unwound. Shell structures collapsed under scrutiny. Funds were traced, frozen, and prepared for restitution. The lifestyle she once treated as untouchable became conditional. Permissions replaced assumptions. Oversight replaced freedom. Limits replaced excess. Not because she was wealthy, but because she forgot that wealth does not excuse accountability. When asked later about the case, the judge offered no commentary on the individual involved. He did not mention money. He did not mention status. He said only this: courts exist to remind people that power has boundaries. In that room, on that day, someone learned a lesson many never do. That respect is not measured by how much you own. It is measured by how you behave when the law is watching. And the law is always watching.